Imagine the most feared killer of the 20th century, a shadowy figure who terrorized San Francisco from 1960 to 1970. This mysterious murderer had a twisted sense of pride, sending taunting letters to the police and newspapers after each crime. But that's not all. He also included secret messages in the form of puzzles, daring the authorities to catch him. Who was this killer, and why did he take such pleasure in his crimes? Let's uncover this chilling story in today's episode of Darkopedia. Welcome back. Today, we recount the harrowing events of December 20, 1968. It was a special night for a young couple on their first date. 17-year-old David Arthur Faraday and 16-year-old Betty Lou Jensen decided to drive out to a quiet spot on Herman Lake Road. They had no idea that someone was secretly following them. When they parked their car, a stranger suddenly appeared and knocked on their window, gesturing for them to get out. Feeling scared, David and Betty tried to drive away, but the stranger had other plans. He shot at the back tire, causing it to blow out. Terrified, David and Betty jumped out of the car and ran for their lives. Tragically, the stranger caught up with them. David was shot in the head and died instantly, while Betty was shot 5 times as she tried to escape. This horrific event marked the beginning of a series of terrifying crimes by the infamous Zodiac Killer. But the terror didn't end there. On the night of July 4, 1969, another couple became the target. 22-year-old Darlene Ferrin and 19-year-old Mike McGill went out for a late-night date, leaving their house at 11:30 p.m. They soon noticed a strange car following them. To shake off their pursuer, they drove to the parking lot of Blue Rock Springs Park, but the eerie car followed them. The stranger parked right next to them, matching their movements. After a tense moment, he sped away, only to return minutes later. This ominous dance left Darlene and Mike on edge, wondering what fate awaited them. What drove this man to such cruel acts, and why did he revel in the fear he spread? Join us as we continue to unravel the dark mysteries of this infamous killer. Seeing the car leave, Darlene and Mike felt a wave of relief wash over them. But their relief was short-lived. Just 5 minutes later, the car returned, parking directly behind them and blocking their way out. A stranger emerged from the car, holding a flashlight that he shined directly into their faces. The bright light blinded and disoriented them. Initially, they thought it might be a policeman, but they were terribly mistaken. The stranger suddenly opened fire, shooting both of them before fleeing the scene. This horrific incident marked the Zodiac Killer's second murder, occurring just about 4 miles from his first. Later that night, the killer made a chilling phone call to the police, calmly reporting the crime. He directed them to Columbus Parkway, saying, "If you go 1 mile east, you will find 2 kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year." With that, he hung up. When the police arrived, they found Darlene and Mike. Darlene, critically injured with a gunshot wound to her neck, was rushed to the hospital. Tragically, she died at 12:04 a.m. Mike, who survived, eventually regained consciousness and provided a description of the attacker. He recalled a white man with a long face, around 5 feet 8 inches tall, weighing about 200 pounds, dressed in black. Despite this description, the police were left with too few clues to catch the Zodiac Killer. His ability to evade capture and his taunting calls only deepened the mystery and fear surrounding his identity. Who was this shadowy figure, and what drove him to commit such heinous acts? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the story of the Zodiac Killer. About a month after the attack on Darlene and Mike, on July 31, 1969, the Zodiac Killer sent a series of letters and ciphers to different newspapers, including the police. These letters contained specific details about the crimes, such as the type of gun used, the number of bullets fired, and where the victims were shot, information only known to the police. Along with these details, he included a cipher with a hidden message, demanding that it be printed in the newspapers. He warned that if it wasn't published, he would continue his killing spree. The ciphers were sent to intelligence agencies, but initially they couldn't be decoded. However, after being published in the newspapers, a couple from San Francisco cracked it in 2010. The decoded message revealed a chilling statement. "I like killing because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game because man is the most dangerous animal of all to kill." The Zodiac Killer also claimed that he did not believe in life after death, but that he would be reborn in paradise with all his victims as his slaves. Out of the 3 ciphers he sent, only one has been completely decoded to this day. After sending these letters, the Zodiac Killer went silent for nearly 2 months. But on September 27, 1969, he struck again. This time, his targets were a young college couple, 20-year-old Brian Hartnell and his 22-year-old girlfriend, Cecilia Shepard. They had gone to Lake Berryessa, a popular dating spot, for a picnic. It was around 6 o'clock in the evening when they noticed something strange. A man in a black shirt with a Zodiac symbol on his black hood was approaching them. He pulled out a gun and demanded their money and car keys. Thinking he was just a robber, they complied. But after getting what he wanted, the man tied their hands and feet at gunpoint and then took out a knife. He brutally attacked Brian 6 times and Cecilia 10 times. After the attack, the Zodiac Killer wrote details of the incident on the couple's car door, including the location, date, time, and the weapon used. A fisherman and his son, who were nearby, witnessed the aftermath and quickly ran for help. The Zodiac Killer's reign of terror continued to baffle and frighten the public. Who was this mysterious figure, and why did he find such pleasure in his horrific crimes? Stay tuned as we dig deeper into this horrifying story into the dark and twisted mind of the Zodiac Killer. When the fisherman and his son reached the shore of Lake Berryessa after fishing, they heard someone screaming in pain. They rushed to investigate and found a couple severely injured. Working together, they managed to get Brian and Cecilia to the hospital. As with previous attacks, the Zodiac Killer called the police at 7:40 p.m. detailing his crime. Tragically, Cecilia succumbed to her deep wounds 2 days later. Brian, however, regained consciousness and provided a statement to the police. Despite numerous suspects being detained, the lack of evidence led to their release. After this attack, the Zodiac Killer went silent for nearly 2 weeks. Then, on the night of October 11, at 9:40 p.m., a white man hailed a taxi driven by Paul Stine. The passenger initially asked to go to Maple Street in Washington, but upon arrival, he asked to go 1 block back towards Cherry Street, perhaps noticing something or someone. When they reached Cherry Street, the passenger suddenly shot Paul in the head, killing him instantly. The killer then took Paul's wallet and car keys and cut off a piece of Paul's shirt before fleeing the scene. This was the Zodiac Killer's last known murder. 3 children passing by witnessed the crime and quickly called the police. They described the murderer as a white man wearing a black or dark jacket. Before leaving, the killer meticulously wiped down the taxi to eliminate any evidence. Meanwhile, a police patrol car was nearby. The officers received a call describing the suspect as a black man, which was a miscommunication. When they saw a white man walking away from the crime scene, they asked if he had seen anything unusual. The man, who was the Zodiac Killer, said he saw someone with a gun heading east. Believing they were looking for a black suspect, the officers let him go. Upon reaching the crime scene, the police found Paul Stine dead. Initially, they suspected a robbery because Paul's wallet was missing. On October 13, 1969, the Zodiac Killer sent a letter to a newspaper confessing to Paul's murder and including the piece of Paul's shirt as proof. 2 police officers and the 3 children who witnessed the crime helped create a sketch of the suspect, which was distributed widely, but it yielded no results. Then, on October 22, someone contacted the Oakland Police Department, adding another layer to the mystery surrounding the Zodiac Killer. Who was this elusive murderer, and why did he find joy in such brutality? The Zodiac Killer's story took another interesting turn when, on October 22, someone called the Oakland Police Department, claiming to be the Zodiac Killer. He insisted on speaking with famed attorneys F. Lee Bailey and Melvin Belly on a TV show. During the live broadcast, the caller identified himself as Sam. However, when the host began asking questions, Sam started speaking incoherently before abruptly ending the call. 2 weeks later, on November 8 and November 9, 1969, newspapers received 2 new ciphers from the Zodiac Killer. One of these ciphers was so complex that it remained unsolved for the next 51 years. Finally, on December 5, 2020, 3 international codebreakers managed to decode it. The message read, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me." That wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I'm not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me. After November 9, 1969, the Zodiac Killer continued to send ciphers, but none of them have been decoded. At one point, the Zodiac claimed he had committed 37 murders. However, San Francisco police could only definitively link him to 5 murders. The Zodiac's reign of terror led to numerous false confessions, complicating the hunt for the real killer and making the case even harder to solve. The Zodiac Killer's identity remains a mystery to this day, with countless theories but no definitive answers. If you found this story gripping and want to learn more about other mysteries, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends. Stay tuned for our next episode. Bye for now.